Hey everyone, welcome to Botanists in Paradise. My name's Nolan. I just finished up my field season in southeast Idaho and I'm back home on Whidbey Island. Today I want to show you one of my favorite spots growing up and some of the crazy plants growing there. Pear Lagoon. The lagoon is ultra saline. The only water input is seawater pushed over the barrier during storms, and the salts get concentrated even further as the water evaporates from the lagoon. The only plants able to survive in these conditions are halophytes, or salt lovers. Although, I don't know if they actually love the toxic levels of salt here, or if they're just able to tolerate it better than other plants due to chance evolutionary circumstances. The most common halophyte here is Salicornia pacifica. This branchy succulent is in the Amaranthaceae, the same family as quinoa and spinach. And just like its cousins, it's pretty tasty. I've actually seen it for sale as a premium vegetable at the Salt Lake City farmers market, going for outrageous prices. The flavor is pretty strong by itself, but it's really good mixed in with other things. And the way this plant has adapted to dealing with the salty conditions here is by taking that salt, concentrating it into a briny solution, which it then sequesters in special compartments in the tips of the stems, safely away from the normal biochemistry of the plant. And what you see on these plants here is at the end of the growing season, when the salt has built up to such high levels that the stem tips turn red, and the plant allows these parts of the stem to die and break off, effectively removing the salt from the plant system. And I'll show you another plant with a similar but slightly different strategy for dealing with the salt. It's called saltgrass, or Distichylus spicata. And here's some. It's pretty distinct for a grass. It's got these two ranked leaves that stick out opposite from one another. And if you look closely, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, there's glistening salt crystals on the leaf. And that's because this plant skips the brine solution completely and just takes the salt and precipitates it in crystal form directly out of the leaf. And I wonder if this strategy is as effective as the brine, because when I look around, I really only see the Salicornia growing in the saltiest parts of the lagoon, and you have to go pretty far out before you start to encounter the saltgrass. But still, it gives it a huge advantage over most plants, and you gotta walk pretty far out from the lagoon before you start encountering different plants. So for our next stop, I climbed up the bluff a little ways. We were just down there in that salty lagoon, and as you can see, it's a beautiful sunny day. Not the normal doom and gloom you might expect from Western Washington. The climate on the islands here is a little more Mediterranean, a little warmer and drier than the mainland, and that allows for the growth of some rather unusual plants, such as this monster prickly pear cactus here. And if you're saying, wait a minute, I didn't think there were any cacti like that in Washington, you'd be right. This is actually a Texas prickly pear, Opuntia engelmannii, that was planted here by some mysterious guerrilla gardener. But it's thriving here, and even has a few children just over there. But what might surprise you is that there actually are native cacti in Western Washington. right here under the Texas prickly pear, there's abundant fragile prickly pear, Opuntia fragilis. Maybe careful where I put my hand here. But this diminutive cactus is actually the most widespread cactus in all of North America, ranging from northern Canada down to the southwest. And perhaps the reason why it's so successful is because of the ease at which the small segments break off and get stuck to clothing and animals and whatever else. I could easily imagine this cacti becoming invasive somewhere else in the world. There are several species of Opuntia that are invasive in Africa and Asia, actually. So I've just come across this big patch of a Boronia Latifolia. And this plant is super cool because it's one of the only yellow flowered members of the Nyctaginaceae family. And this could be part of the reason why there's a species of moth that's so specialized in its diet as to be monophagous on this plant, meaning it eats nothing else throughout its entire life cycle. And even though the Boronia itself isn't particularly rare, like most species on the planet, its population levels are plummeting as a result of human activity. And as a result, the moths have been having a hard time finding their next meal, and they're currently under review for protection under the US Endangered Species Act, which would be pretty neat. For our last stop of the day, I'm taking you to an entirely different beach to show you two more of my favorite hometown native species. We'll start with this Carex Macrocephala here. And I hear a lot of people grumbling about how hard Carexes are to identify, but not this one. The size of the inflorescence on this Carex is a dead giveaway. There's only 2 species in the world that belong to this subsection of Carex, and the other grows in Taiwan. So check out those impressive Perigynia. There really is nothing else like it. Alright, I've been crawling around in the rocks for over 30 minutes now, and I was just starting to think that I was never going to find the plant that I was looking for. But here it is. The amazing Aphylon californicum growing right out of the rocks here. And this species is in the Oroboncaceae family. And most, if not all, members of this family are parasitic. Some are hemiparasitic, meaning they are still able to photosynthesize, and they acquire some of their nutrients that way. This one is holoparasitic, meaning that it relies on stealing 100% of its nutrients. And I was trying to figure out this morning what it could be parasitizing out here. And I was reading that most Aphylons parasitize either Artemisia or Grindelia species, both in the Asteraceae family. And would you look at that? There's a Grindelia right there. You can see the basal leaves. Grindelia integrifolia. Although I'm impressed by how far away from the Grindelia the Aphylon is growing. I would be amazed if the Grindelia has roots all the way out there. So I am blown away by how this plant could be surviving right here. Well, thanks for tagging along with me today. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you want to support me, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm gonna keep the plant content coming until winter strikes. See you next time.